What's going on, everybody? Just going to let you know here, and in case you had any doubts, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills, three teams favorited to probably be the top teams in all the American Football Conference and the National Football League, will all make the playoffs this year. So on this day when you're not thinking it's possible, just remember, you're going to have the best of those teams in the postseason, in case you forgot about it. But I was thinking about something that's really frustrating to me. And there are a few things in the world of sports that I dislike more than seeing players pad their own stats. And, the game is meant, it's, the team sport, it's intended for you to win. Obviously, if it's an individual sport like golf or tennis, you're thinking about the same goal. The same goal is to go out there and win. It doesn't matter if you win, dominantly or barely get over the top. A win is a win. But in a team sport, it's a little different because players have to perform up to certain levels. And in many cases, maybe the person that wants to come at me in this argument would say that the stats themselves are part of what allows teams to win games. And that part of the argument I understand. But you look at some sports, particularly the NBA, and there is a revolution now with the whole triple doubles. And players literally looking to get those three lines all in double figures to satisfy their own narcissistic mentalities. If you look at the history of the triple double in the NBA for years up through around 1960, Bob Cousy owned the NBA record for the most triple doubles total. Oscar Robertson came in and kind of redefined that as a possibility. He had an error, and maybe if he was an individual player now, you'd say, well, why is he getting so many more triple doubles than others? But really, from the years of 1961 all the way through, which ended up being a record till 2015, Russell Westbrook finally passed him. Oscar Robertson was known for that rare feat, that ability to get double figures in points, rebounds, and assists in the same game. And, there was a time, during the 1980s where Magic Johnson kind of ran wild. What was it? Was that 5 straight seasons that he led the league, or 4 straight seasons? He was in double figures and triple doubles. And then Larry Bird led the league, Fat Lever led the league, and then Magic 4 more times before the 1991 season. So it was another era, another different time. Now, we could make the same case, or a similar case, that maybe Magic Johnson was obsessed with getting 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 points each game. But, in Robertson and Magic Johnson's case, they're two individual players that just happened to be able to accumulate that many assists, that many rebounds in addition to the points. What's happened, and it's a shame because I'm going to look at Russell Westbrook as kind of the poster child for the triple-double in this generation. And what he has done by averaging triple-doubles for multiple seasons is outstanding. And his career is basically based off of the triple-double. He's going to be a Hall of Famer because of it. He may never win an NBA championship. He may not be the best player in the league. If he was, maybe it was for a really short period. But, for a guy that is able to be known for the triple-double, he's going to be known for very little less. And you look at a lot of the players in the game today, and they're looking at it as part of a goal for a game. The goal for the game, number one, should be for your team to win. And if you're unable to do that, your individual stats shouldn't matter. So if you're going out there saying, hey, if I get my 10, 10, and 10, it's going to increase my team's chance of winning. No, how about you D up the guy that's on the other side and you keep him from scoring? You scored your 12 points, keep him from scoring 40. Maybe instead of passing that ball when you have a wide open shot because you already have 10 points, don't do that. Do what you need. Have the stats be a reflection of what you're doing to help your team win. And in the NBA now, it doesn't seem like that happens. It seems like the goal for the average player is to go out there and try to have a triple-double. It's not to score points. It's not to D up. It's not to hit your free throws. It's not to play the team game. It's to get 10, 10, and 10. So you could add it to this basically stat padding stat, and that's all it is. And you look at since 2024, 2015, there has been players that have led the league in double figures, in triple doubles, each one of the seasons, including this year, where Nikola Jokic has 10 already. And he's averaged a triple-double this year. He averaged a triple-double last year. And it's becoming just a part of the game. Hey, I did my job. If the team loses, you can't blame me. And the problem is most of these players that are going out there knocking triple-doubles and trying to tally them like it's some kind of grand stat, they're not playing any defense. They're not doing the other little things to help their team win. So I go out there and I get a triple-double and I say, hey, I did my job. No, maybe your narcissism and self-righteousness is the reason why your team lost. Maybe instead of worrying about what your stats are and having double figures in each one of them, you maybe should have focused a little more on helping your team win. And a couple other things I want to get into. Prior to 2015, there was just one season that a player had that averaged over 10 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds in a game. And that was Oscar Robertson in 1962. Since then, 5 times it's been done. We talked about Bob Cousy, 32 up to 1960. Oscar Robertson after that got up to 181, which stayed through 2020. And obviously Russell Westbrook is the leader right now as he's still active. I believe it's the biggest stat pattern in the world of sports. Another one that's coming up, stay tuned, because I'm going to do a show and I'm going to talk about stolen bases in baseball, which were once something very prideful, something that could be a little bit of a niche for a player to get themselves into baseball and be a dominant player. Maybe somebody that doesn't hit a ton of home runs, maybe somebody that doesn't hit for that high of an average, maybe somebody that isn't able to do some of the other skills of baseball can go out there and steal bases and become a contributor towards their team. Now, it's being normalized by players like Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto. And while I love their accomplishments in the game, and I think they're a couple of the best players that the game has right now, them going out there trying to steal more bases is like trying to accumulate triple doubles. It's like trying to add another stat to say, hey, look at me. Shohei Ohtani didn't pitch in the year of 2024. He stole 59 bases. He didn't steal that many bases in 2025. Why? Because he was pitching. He was probably told, hey, steal more bases, you'll look better. The easiest stat to pad in baseball is stolen bases. And I have a hard time with that. I'm going to finish off the show today by doing another one of my team previews. And I'm going to talk about a team that I follow very much, the New York Mets. And, they're obviously in the news now because the New York Post, decided to be the ones to come up with that, clubhouse cancer killing article that you knew was coming. Now, not that it was true, but you knew somebody was going to put something together to try to give it the reason. The Mets, were a team that was supposed to get to the playoffs, basically had a spot in the postseason reserved for them. And that, for whatever reason, they just didn't get the job done. So, the fact that they ended up having too much time in the season, they fell out of a playoff spot, they didn't make the playoffs. We look at their payroll, we look at how much Juan Soto's getting paid. It's got to be it's got to be because of something internally that's going on. My reason, the Mets just weren't good enough. They didn't have good enough pitching. Their offense, as much as they had some good individual stats, was not consistent enough. Their team defense was weak to very below average. And this was a team that just, they ran out of gas. They didn't have the ability to be as good as some of the other teams in baseball. But, you think of many different ways you can go with the offseason. And the Mets already started to move towards a little bit of change, trading 10-year veteran Brandon Nimmo to the Texas Rangers in exchange for Marcus Semien. Maybe a simple way to just shake things up a little bit. And my ways to continue in the Mets offseason are going to involve doing some of the same thing. And I'm going to start out with the most obvious move that the Mets should make, and I think that's re-signing Edwin Diaz. And I think they should do at 5 years and about 120 million. I think it's enough to get the job done. I think you do got to worry about a team like the Dodgers. I think you got to worry about the Yankees or the Red Sox or anybody else that says, hey, I want to go out there and get the best closer in baseball, because that's what Edwin Diaz is. Now, hopefully, Edwin gives the Mets the opportunity to match whatever the highest offer is. But if the Mets are aggressive, I think they should get this done. So that's number one. Number two, I think they're going to focus. The focus is going to continue to be on run prevention. And that's why I think Cody Bellinger is a fit. I would start with at least a 5-year, $145 million contract with the ability to move up a little bit if things get contentious. If the Yankees are in it, if other teams are trying to get the job done, I think you can go up to about 7 years and a little over $200 million to get this job done. What I think this unfortunately does, I think it ends the time in New York for all-time home run leader for the New York Mets, Pete Alonso. And I love Pete, and I hope he comes back. But I think this would be a decision that would make things very tough. I think Pete is at a point of his career where I think he still considers himself a first baseman. I think, to be a full-time DH, I think he would take it if he got paid for it. But I still don't think David Stearns values Pete Alonso the same way that him and Scott Boras value Pete Alonso. And this is an off season, and I think Pete's going to get paid. He's going to have more suitors. There's going to be more teams that are going to go out there and be willing to pay Pete Alonso a lot more money over a lot longer period of time than the New York Mets are. And that's the only reason that I'm predicting he's going elsewhere. Not because I don't want to see him play for the Mets next season. After that, I think the Mets should hit the trade market. In fact, the next 3 moves are all going to be trades. If you followed my show last week, you'll know at least one of them involves the Pittsburgh Pirates, who I did a team preview for last week. I think you call up the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're interested in moving Tyler Glass now. I think it's a situation that, the guy has huge upside. He could be a number 1 starter for you. And I think the Dodgers would be interested in moving him for Clay Holmes and Ronnie Mauricio. I think they look at Mauricio, they can, as a possible heir apparent at third base with Max Muncy back for just 1 more season. I think Clay Holmes gives them the ability not only to use him as a 5th starter, but to potentially be a very important bullpen piece. So I think that's a deal that could work out for both teams. Next one, a little more aggressive. They're going to go out there, and have them making a trade for Freddie Peralta from the Milwaukee Brewers. I was debating whether they should trade for Peralta or Brandon Woodruff. I think this is going to be a little bit of an overpay for the Mets. They're going to trade pitching prospect Jonathan. I think they should trade Luis Angel Acuna. And any other prospects a little bit less, I think are going to burn them a little less. Jonathan Santucci, left-hand pitcher, Eli Serrano, the third, an outfielder. I think this is enough to get the job done for the Milwaukee Brewers. Remember, they're getting a high-end pitching prospect that they're going to control for the next 6 years. They're getting somebody that could probably be a starting middle infielder for them. Is going to steal a ton of bases. I think fits their culture and their clubhouse very easily. And then you get 2 other wild cards. I don't think that many other teams are going to be that aggressive. And I think for the Mets to give a high-end pitcher and some quantity, I think they're able to get the job done with the Milwaukee Brewers. After that, if you listened to my show last week, I had the Mets making a trade, trading Kodai Senga to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Jared Triolo and Justin Lawrence. Triolo, a utility infielder, has very high rankings as a defensive player, can play multiple positions. Justin Lawrence, a very good reliever, just freed from Colorado, pitched with the Pirates last year. I think can be a very good answer late in the game. After that, the Mets are going to stay aggressive. They're going to go out there and they're going to pay Harrison Bader. 4 years, $58 million, AAV about 14.5. It's more than he's been making. His first multi-year contract offer. You may have to fend off some other suitors, mainly the Philadelphia Phillies. But if you set yourself up with the best deal, the best offer, I think you're able to swing in and hit a home run. After that, bullpen, Robert Suarez. You go out there, you get him from the San Diego Padres. Padres not looking to add to their payroll. Odds are they're not going to re-sign Suarez. You use Suarez as an 8th innings pseudo closer at times to work with Edwin Diaz. And then you go out there and you bring back Tyler Rogers, 3 years, $30 million. The Suarez contract, you're going to pay him $90 million. I got 4 years, $90 million, AAV of 22.5, $10 million a year for 3 years for Tyler Rogers. And then the last trade was the one that I mentioned also on my show last week. Jeff McNeil to the Pirates for Dennis Santana. Separate deal from the Senga deal, but in a situation shaking up the Mets clubhouse. And I'm not going to get into too much about, hey, this is what destroyed the Mets last year, but I think anytime you go where you were that favorited and the expectations were you were going to make the postseason, and things fall as far as they did, I think you do got to shake some things up. And what I think the moves that I suggested allow the Mets to do is I think they could win with this. I think their pitching is much better. I think their defense is much better. I think ultimately guys can work in and maybe come back with some of that offense that they were missing at the end of last season. Now, losing Pete Alonso, losing Brandon Nimmo, losing even Starling Marte are going to hurt. How much of that offense are they going to supplement with guys like Cody Bellinger and Harrison Bader and Marcus Semien? That's going to be one of the biggest questions, right? If these guys, especially Semien, continue to become lesser players, lesser impact offensive players, then I think the Mets will be in trouble. But I also think they have 3 22-year-old players that are all ready to play in the major leagues for the first time. Carson Bench, Jet Williams, and Ryan Clifford. Now, I didn't include any of these players in my trade proposals, and I'm giving basically at least two of the 3 of them a chance to be on the MLB roster, which could impact Bellinger playing first base, could impact Bellinger playing left field. Bench could start in left field. Jet Williams maybe even play third base instead of Brett Beatty. I think to have at-bats available at the major league level for some of the Mets' top prospects, I think are going to help them not only for the future, but help them win now. But I think a starting rotation led by Glasnow, Peralta, to go with Nolan McLean, David Peterson, and Sean Manaea should be as strong as at least the top middle tier teams in baseball. Maybe not number one, maybe it's not the Yankees, maybe it's not the Dodgers, but they're up there. You got an ace, you got 2 guys that could be number ones, you got somebody in Nolan McLean that could be an ace down the road, but you're not forcing him. Opening day start at Citi Field against the Pirates. So I like this. The bullpen led by Diaz, Suarez, and Rogers, Brooks Raley and AJ Minter coming back. Dennis Santana and Justin Lawrence come from the Pittsburgh Pirates. The bench, Jared Triolo, I think, has the ability to play plus defense in both the infield and the outfield. You got Luis Torrens, obviously a super defensive catcher. Tyrone Taylor, super defensive outfielder. And then the last spot's going to go either, last 2 spots in left field, first base, or the bench for Jet Williams, Ryan Clifford, and Carson Bench. This is the Pass Ball Show, brought to you by JohnPielli.com, by St. Aloysius Church in Jackson, New Jersey, by 2 Ways, One Passion Food Truck, located in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Just a reminder, you can follow any of my content, whether it's YouTube, X, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and of course check out the website, which I haven't really updated too much lately, JohnPielli.com. Just throw comments anyway. We're looking for the show to grow. Any ideas, anything going on in your mind in the world of sports. God bless you, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.